whether you speak the language or not, which is why I posted this poll. Okay, so poll results are in, and now it's time to take a look at the results. So we had one person who said, I'm not American, even though I don't speak the language. That was another little intricacy that I didn't get into last time. Um, During Reconstruction, after the Civil War, there was this push for Americans to move to Louisiana to help increase the population and speed up the Americanization. But the Creole people stuck together to preserve the culture. So today there's still these two different cultures. There's, the Anglo Americans and the Francophone Creoles. So I think it would make a lot of sense for this person to identify this way, especially if there's someone who actually grew up in Louisiana. Two people said they're American and they don't speak the language. I think if we could poll every Louisiana Creole in the entire US, um, they would like the majority of the answers would be this one. So then we have five who do speak the language and say that they are not American. I really think that if you're going to find people who identify as not American and they did not grow up in Louisiana, they definitely speak the language. I've even met people who started identifying this way after learning the language without living in Louisiana. So the language definitely plays a very important role here. So then we have seven who said they identify as American and they do speak the language. So we can see that from the people who answered, that's 12 who speak the language and 3 who don't. So this is skewed heavily in favor of the people who speak the language, even though we're a majority or a minority in the overall community. And it's kind of evenly split between 5 and 7 votes who say they are or aren't American, but I don't know. It would be really interesting if we could do this on a larger scale and see if it really is split this much, or if the majority identifies as American the same as the non Creole speaking population probably does. So, since this is a really complicated topic, I was discussing with a few people in the comments, and that was really interesting because you can go into a lot more detail. So, one person said, I consider my race is black, my nationality is American, and my ethnicity is Creole. I was like, yeah, this is normally what I would say too, but now I kind of lean more toward saying that um, black, as in like Black American or African American, is an ethnicity because the way race is defined in the US is synonymous with ethnicity. And I feel like it just gives it a lot more legitimacy if we say this is an ethnicity, which is something that is like based on culture and ancestry, instead of saying this is a race, which is just something arbitrary. Someone else was saying, I would say that Afro Creoles are African American, um, because a lot of our ancestors were sold back and forth across the border. Um, New York used to be a Dutch colony, and you don't hear them saying, "Oh, we're not African American." And we all contributed to this unified African American culture and identity. I absolutely agree with this. I really like this idea of African American as an umbrella term where we start to look more at different regions and see how we have, little variations in our cultures. We know there's Afro Creoles, there's Afro Seminoles, there's Gullah, there's Afro Appalachians. There's all of these different ethnic groups that are their own group, their own regional culture, but simultaneously completely African American as well. Then we have one person who says, I feel like Creoles are not African American. Um, but I think it was more about the fact that in Louisiana, you do have this difference between Americans and Creoles. The best way I can think to describe it is if you say, okay, my ethnicity is Creole, which means that this other group, these Americans, that's also an ethnic group. And you're saying that my ethnicity is not American, but your nationality still is. But whether Creoles choose to identify as American or not, we are still part of one group as Louisiana Creoles. This is definitely by no means meant to imply that we're split into different groups based on this.